Hey man, what if AI gets the rankings wrong? AI is the amazing, scary thing that's happening. And what if even it can't compile the right list of quarterbacks for the 2025 season? So that's what I want to get into today with you. So what we've done here today is do exactly what I just kind of alluded to. We used Google's Gemini, their AI, to compile a list from various analysts and sports experts and probably general weirdos like Michael and myself to put together a tier list of these. It's really 35 quarterbacks that included a couple of quarterback battle kind of things. And so what we want to do is we've put their list in the tier maker so that we can kind of go through it and move some guys around. So we're going to go through and move 2 or 3 people each and just say, hey, this guy is not being assessed correctly in my eyes. He's going to go up here or down here or what have you. I'm going to move a couple. He's going to move a couple. And then at the end, we're going to say, we think these guys are going to really ascend by the end of the season. They'll move into this tier for next year, or these guys are going to come way down or whatever. So let's get into it right now. Here's the list that we've moved over from Google Gemini. And this is kind of what they have so far. I don't think it's an egregious list off the top of my head. There are a couple in here that I'm like, I don't know about that. But I don't think it's terrible, which would be good because we'd be here all day if we were trying to fix a terrible list. So
yeah,
enough said. Give me your first guy that you want to move and tell me where you would move him.
Yeah, and just a caveat before we get into that is that first we're just going to be talking about at the start of the season who belongs where. So looking at that, my looking over the list, my number one thing that I see, of course, because I'm a Dallas fan, probably was Dak Prescott. In general concept, I get it, but I think if we're looking beyond just the one season stats. It's like, okay, I would put Dak in the high tier, kind of up there with Jalen, that whole group. I'd put him before Jayden Daniels. That's about it. Okay. Up in that group. I expect, I think he's expected to produce a playoff running, if not playoff team in a tough division, and with Jalen and all of that. So that would be my first person to move. I think Dak has a pretty well storied history of putting up numbers and getting things done. We like to get to the playoffs and make a quick appearance before we head home. So that's my logic behind moving him just out of the solid starters up into the high end area.
Do you think Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think that his not slightly, but significantly larger sample size over Jayden is part of what edges him out? And then the opposite, Jayden's got 1 year, and it's going to give him a little bit less, not credibility, but whatever you want to, just like earned trust kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. 100% agree. 100% agree. All right. What about you? What do you see?
So first, I really like what this guy's done. I hate what he does when he plays against my Cardinals because this franchise just has a history of just getting after us for some reason. And so I'm going to take Bryce Young and I'm going to put him more in prove it this year. I don't think he's bridge, and I think he's a little bit more than developing. We didn't talk about the labels that AI gave these, but a lot of them make a lot of sense. The C tier guys are improve it years, D tiers are bridge and developmental guys and things like that. I think Bryce Young is a bit more developed than people gave him credit for. I think that he now has better weaponry around him. They just added that wide receiver, and my brain is not going to give me that name. Tedero McMillan, there it is. And so now he's got a bit more around him. Now it's the prove it year. So I'm just going to move him right up here. And if I'm got to put him with someone, I'd say right in the midst of these guys, I'd put him above. I put him above everyone except for Caleb Williams in this particular case. He's got more sample size, but he still has plenty to prove. So
yeah,
this is just about right. You could make the debate that he's anywhere else in this line, but that's where I put him right now. I think that this will be his year to try to really ascend. So, yeah, we'll see what we get there. Who you got as your second guy?
It's going to come off like I'm picking on the guy. I certainly don't mean to. I have huge respect for Jayden Daniels. But with that being said, what he did last year is phenomenal, right? It is phenomenal. But the league adjusts. It's going to be hard to maintain that, and there's no real track record beyond that. He also has what I would consider to be a pretty dangerous play style that I think lends itself kind of like RG3 to, which is really scary considering the team he's on. To a short ending if he doesn't adjust as the league adjusts. So it's a half truth to say I'd love to see him up there since he's in my division, but
Right.
my respect for him is very, very high to me, and that's why I don't have him in there with Bo Nix and those guys who I think are great. But I would move him down into the solid starters. You look at that group, and that's a real group of playoff quarterbacks. Goff, Stafford, Jordan Love.
Yep.
And I don't know that I would agree with the exact positioning of everybody there. I might have moved Jordan Love to the right, but I'll put him over by Jordan Love right next to Brock Purdy, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere in that area anyway. But I do think he is in that, as of right now, I think everyone expects him. I don't think there's any reason to think that he's not going to be a solid starter going into the season chasing the playoffs again.
Yeah, I agree with you on him. I needed more than 1 year, and I don't care if it's Jayden Daniels or Bo Nix or CJ Stroud last year, what have you. I do think that if he does it again, or Lord forbid, grows even more, it's very likely he ends up maybe even up here.
He could end up there.
But for right now, you're at least a solid starter, and you've got a chance to really blow us out of the water this year. So he's one of the guys to watch this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for my second guy, I'm actually going to kind of cheat. I'm going to sort of move two guys here, but it's because there are three teams with two quarterbacks represented here, and I'm going to swap them. It thinks that the Colts are going to start Anthony Richardson still, and there's a possibility, I believe, that he might if he can get the right, doctor's note on his shoulder. But I think it's going to be Daniel Jones up here. I do still kind of see him as a bridge guy for that team.
Sure.
Wow, you're just going to fight me, aren't you? I do still see him as a little bit of bridge. This is something of you almost need a subcategory within this of not last chance, but something like last chance. For these guys to really jump up and take something. You're looking for him to have that renaissance like Sam Darnold kind of showed last year, or like Geno Smith had when he went to Seattle. I hated that time. But that's what he's looking to have here. They've got a good roster in Indy. He's going to have a chance to do some of that. So I'm going to put him here in bridge developing, but he could also, you could debate that he's in the prove it tier because of the nature of what this will be for him. So that's who I'll move second. So good times. Why don't you give me one more, just because we've got some space.
I'm debating between two different guys as to who I think deserves it more here. I guess I'm going to go with where is Stafford there? I think Stafford probably deserves to be. I'm sorry, Goff. Where's Goff? There he is. I think that I would move Goff up into the high end guys. I probably put him right after Jalen. I think he puts up amazing numbers. He's become so consistent. I don't see there being any real reason why he won't be sitting up in the top 10 guys, at the end of the season overall. So I think that. What do you think? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. I might have even put him in front of Jalen Hurts. I know Jalen just won the Super Bowl, and I don't mean to disrespect the guy, but Philly has one of the best rosters we've maybe ever seen, and so I have to caveat a little bit there. If I had any misgivings about the production of Jared Goff this year, it'd be because Detroit lost a couple of things. They lost both coordinators. They lost Frank Ragnow, and he was a big part of what they had. When the Eagles lost their center, we were a little bit worried, and I think they lost both coordinators as well the same year. Maybe not. And they got through it. They had another guy down the pipeline, and they just kept on churning in great offensive linemen. We're not sure Detroit's going to do that yet, so we'll see. But I totally
get. They picked up a certain running back who helped bridge a lot of those gaping holes for them. Yeah,
he can mask some weaknesses, that's for sure,
and
really help with some strengths too. So I think that makes sense. So Last guy I'll give you for my movers before the start of the season.
Yeah.
I feel like this guy's a bit disrespected. It's Aaron Rodgers. Now it's not a prove it year for him by any means because he's proven everything. It would be if he was 31, but at 41, he just is what he is. And what is he with production? Very similar to Patrick Mahomes and guys like Kyler Murray and such. I have to put him over here in starters. I think he's a solid starter for Pittsburgh. Am I going to build a franchise around him now if I'm starting fresh? No, absolutely not. He's almost done. And I don't think he's already stated he doesn't want to play really past this year. So maybe he changes his mind and goes full Brett Favre. We don't know. But from what we've seen so far, this looks like it might be a wrap. So yeah, I'd move him up here. I'm very comfortable with that. You could say it's more like prove it level because he hasn't played in Pittsburgh before. But
yeah,
I really think that he's going to be about here. And I would probably put him behind most of these guys. So you could almost say between C and B. So, all righty. Well, very good. Very good. So next, I want to get into these are our climbers and fallers by the end of the season. Guys who are going to have a great season or a terrible season and just fall off or become amazing. So give me your first guy who at the end of the season is going to be substantially higher or lower than where he is now.
I would bet on Bo Nix. I think Bo is going to move up at least one tier. I think last year he had a great year. He does a lot of things right. I feel like he still makes he's made plenty of rookie mistakes and all that. He just seems like a smart guy who's going to learn from those mistakes and mature. And I could be totally wrong, but that's who I would be betting on is that Bo Nix is going to go in. They seem to be very good at keeping him in shape and alive. So, if he can go through the season, I expect him to be at the end of this season for us to either feel like, yeah, he's a solid starter. Wait, maybe he's even a high end guy if they can compete with some of the upper tier teams and cause them some chaos. So Bo Nix is the one I'm putting money on. What do you think? Does that make sense to you? And who are you picking?
No, I think that makes sense, at least to hear. I'd be tempted to try to put him higher. One thing that might keep me from putting him higher if I was going to move him was that defense looks like it might be nearly historic this year. And it might keep them from having a need of tons of production. And so he might not get tons of production just because they didn't need to. They just ran the ball a lot. Where would you put him in this line anyway? Do you think just because?
I think at the end of the season, I could see him being above Jordan there. In that kind of area, like in that top tier of this solid starter group. Because again, like you and I were just saying, is I really think he has the potential to be sitting closer in that high end tier. So yeah, I expect him to be somewhere here. In that top 10, top 12 quarterback list.
Nice. I like it. All right.
What about you? Who are you moving?
My first guy I'm going to move is Caleb Williams. I know it's the Bears and they're champions of the offseason for the millionth year in a row and all that. I get it.
Yeah.
But I really like what they've done. They saw that he got sacked 70 times or whatever it was, and we're like, I think that's a problem. We should go out and get some offensive linemen for him. And they did exactly that. So similar enough, I think he's going to climb to a very similar level of where Bo Nix is. And because I don't think the Bears, we touched on this with Denver, because I don't think the Bears defense is quite where Denver's is. I'm not sure anyone's defense is quite where Denver's is. He'll actually need to throw the ball more. So between that, getting sacked less, hopefully natural maturation, I think he'll climb into this next year. If I had to put him somewhere, I'd probably put him there-ish, somewhere right in there. So you could put him after Brock Purdy. That's fine. I do respect that Brock has had consistent production, but I'm going to put him there anyway because I'm a Cardinals fan and I don't like the Niners. So yeah. Do you think that makes any sense at all, or you just got to see it to believe it?
No, I mean, am I skeptical? I'm a little skeptical, right? Do I think that maybe the Bears need one more year to make me a believer that he's the right guy in the right system at the right place? I think everyone knows he's got skills. Like he has tools, and it's just how does that all work out? But yeah, I get it. Like I get how he might shift up into that, and this might be the year for him to do it. So I don't really have any complaints on that one.
Nice. All right, give me your next one.
Well, I think the next one I'll go with is probably going to be Jordan Love. I think that there's a possibility that Jordan Love moves down a tier into prove it. I think that we'll call it his. It's not really his rookie season, but the first year where he was really the guy, he was phenomenal, and he looked completely untouchable. It was that game against Dallas where we couldn't do anything. The next year he had a good season. I just wonder where he's going this season. I'm not sure that they've figured out his quirks. I'll be interested to see how consistent he is, but I could see him moving down into more of a prove it thing. Now he's a young guy, but I wonder if they will keep going with him. Should his productivity decrease in a very tough division? Should he not be able to keep them in the hunt, if that makes sense?
Yep. Give me a where.
I'd put him at the very top of that. Yeah.
Get out of the way, Kyler.
Somewhere next to those three. Yeah.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I think there are some similarities between these two guys, between Kyler and Jordan Love, and in their assessment. Like, they even have very similar plays against the Rams where they both threw this horrible rollout pick six kind of thing. It's really annoying. But yeah, that is interesting. We'll see. That they can't really move off of him for a minute because they've already paid him. But It could put him into prove it for next year, and then they think about moving off of him in 27. So I don't think that you're crazy for this one at all. I mean, I think you're crazy for other reasons, but not for this.
I am for other reasons.
So. We've met.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's see. For my last guy, I'm going to go kind of off the wall here. I am a bit of a fan of this guy under the radar, and we've talked about him a lot over the last couple of years, and I've really liked what he has done with his career since he's gone to Tampa. I love what Baker Mayfield has done, and I think he's gotten amazing. I think he's in the right spot with the right – it's not just the right system, it's like the right attitude that they allow him to have, and he just works so well with them, and I honestly think he's going up here. By the end of this season, he's almost debatably here now. He had over 40 touchdowns, I think, and that was with Mike Evans going down for a while and Chris Godwin going down for, I think, more than half the season. And so they get those two guys back. They add Emeka Egbuka. I think I said it right for the first time in history. And like they keep loading him up. And I was like, I think he's going to have, at the very least, I think he's going to have elite tier production. Can I guarantee they're going to win 14 games and win the Super Bowl? No. But I think his production, like, you will not be disappointed if you take him in fantasy. So, he's my.
Well, one other thing to throw on him is, the guy took, I think, 40 sacks, and he's tough. Like, it's not that. Well, and I mean, to be fair, that toughness goes back to the Browns. I mean, we saw what he did with one arm with the Browns. So, I mean, he's a tough dude. So, yeah, I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that makes a lot of sense to move him up there, actually. The last season in particular, his red zone is elite. Like, it is elite, We've seen a lot of guys put up impressive numbers, but how many times he's getting in the end zone is impressive. I don't care if he's got Mike Evans or not.
Yeah.
So, I agree. I think that's an exciting one, actually.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. Oh, this was fun. There are other guys we'd probably move if we had more time to really devote to this today. But for now, this is kind of how things would look a bit more. It's oddly fairly even looking. Like, there's not a tier that's just. I mean, there's C tier. It's kind of lopsided, but that makes sense because we got a lot of young quarterbacks, and so we'll see. But yeah, that'll wrap up. This has been us reacting to Google Gemini's essentially their tier list of the quarterbacks. So next week, we're going to get into another group, I think, and just have some fun with this and totally mocking all AI and then not worrying about the Terminator takeover that is coming towards us. So we're trying to get to 100 subscribers by the start of the 2025 NFL season. We'd really appreciate it if anyone was willing to do some clicky things down below us, likes and whatnot. So give us a comment if there's a guy you'd move and where you'd move him to, or who you'd kick off the team if you could. And so anything like that. So, but until next week, you'll have a fantastic day.